You actually look like Catherine Hahn.
Oh, the nicest compliment I have ever received. Blessings.
Well, I've given you a couple, but maybe I should. Where's my comb so I can do my hair?
Do the Vision hair?
Yeah. I'm going to love this review. Okay, well, I'm Will.
I'm Kristen.
And we're back with So I'm Watching WandaVision.
WandaVision. Now in color.
Yeah. Ooh, do that, Will.
do like the Wayne's World.
He's not gonna do it. I need to get I want to order a stand so she can be flying. So next time I'll have one so she'll be like, just hang her from a string.
It would match the effects on the show, which is great.
So we just watched the third episode, Now in Color.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I am still very into this show.
I am too. We're the exception here.
What?
Some people like it. Well, no, people are waiting for something to happen.
Well, sure, I'm waiting for something to happen too, but I'm just having a nice time.
Well, but this is also our kind of thing.
Yeah, we should really fast track the Brady Bunch movies.
We're invested in these characters, and you and I are having a fun time watching them play pretend. And I have the question seems to be, does Marvel have a plan?
Yeah.
And at this stage, I think they do. And particularly, is the Americana sitcom going to have anything to do with it? And I imagine yes, primarily because the overall theme thus far is assimilation.
Sure. It's
them fitting into society.
Yeah.
And that is a very American thing. Mm-hmm. It's a very, and especially sitcoms, the old-timey 50s, 60s, 70s sitcoms, I mean, each decade had its own themes, but a lot of it is sort of this heightened, aspirational idea of what America is at that very point. And so I think especially when you're considering the timeline of the comics, that these are characters that largely were coming to prominence in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, this makes sense as to why at least we're not in like a, 1800 simulation.
Sure.
I don't know how meta this is and how on the surface it's going to be, but so far it seems to be. And primarily what I am getting is that Wanda is in fact aware that something is wrong.
Yeah.
This seems to be that she is on some level cooperating with...
I think she keeps coming to the realization that something is wrong. I think she sort of keeps going back under.
She's making a choice to ignore this reality.
Because Vision is coming to find out that things are weird in this episode now, too.
But it's sort of secondary. He's not... he's finding out from other people.
Sure.
She is like, I'm not ready to talk about this thing yet, so I'm willfully going to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether or not...
To the point of expelling...
quite literally shoving an element out.
Yeah, expelling Geraldine from this situation.
I am still unsure if I think that she is captured by a hostile, or an outside force.
Wanda.
Yeah, or if my initial assumption that they have put her under because she's not well.
But it's still so weird, the Hydra commercials. Every commercial now has been a Hydra.
Well, I was going to say, who are the commercials for? Are they for us or are they for
Wanda?
Her?
Interesting.
Because if they're trying to gradually introduce elements to her, because she clearly... She knows. So I don't think I said this in our previous coverage, but I don't have any real stakes behind Pietro, other than it was Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I kind of like him, and I thought his design was kind of cool.
They also have really good brother-sister chemistry. Not so good romantic chemistry from Godzilla.
I think they're fine, but he just felt premature.
Yeah.
He just really felt tapped out early.
That's the Joss Whedon.
And the longer we've gone, the less hope I've had that we were going to get some sort of payoff.
She did mention him.
It was very, and
literally the first mention since Ultron.
No, Hawkeye named his baby Pietro.
Yeah, in Ultron.
Or yes, in Ultron, but they acknowledged him in Endgame, but they didn't say his name.
Ah, okay.
They had a conversation about him that if you knew what they were talking about,
okay.
It made sense. But okay. I'm so curious if we're going to see him. And again, like I said, when you're dealing with the multiverse, anything could happen.
Yeah.
Geraldine is fascinating to me. She came in the second episode. She was conspicuously not in the first.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears, based on the way Catherine Hahn and the other neighbor, Herb, were talking about it, that she's an anomaly even amongst, because she showed up out of nowhere and didn't have a home.
It also throws into whack my theory that Catherine Hahn is a Hydra agent. Because she seemed very scared. Catherine Hahn seemed very scared when Herb was about to, tell Vision what he thinks is going on.
But even with them, yes, okay. So I think they are choosing to behave the way that they're doing it. They're not glitching. Although Herb seemed like he was glitching when he was...
So Herb might have been glitching. I think Catherine Hahn knows something.
Okay. Radical, wild speculation here.
Okay.
I read a sentence that led me to believe that Catherine could also be a witch. And could be in a position, almost like a fairy godmother type role.
To be, helping Wanda.
Understand.
Her name is Agnes.
Which I assumed was a nod to Agnes Moorehead, who played Endora, who, although famously, is the witch Samantha's mother on Bewitched. And she had a bunny named Scratch, and apparently there's a character within the MCU who has a son named Nicholas Scratch, obviously, because that's a witch name. So that's just a random... And of course, because I didn't throw down the spoiler warning. Like I said, just wild speculation, and I don't seek out spoilers, so I didn't research it further other than I couldn't unread the sentence.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't mind clues, but I don't want spoilers.
For the future, yeah.
Just in general, I don't mind theories.
Don't comment on this YouTube video with, this is actually what's going to happen.
We had someone, she commented, and she was like, I'm so glad that I watched till the end.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I was going to start clarifying things, but then I'd rather watch you guys try and figure it out. So hopefully if you've stuck around.
Yeah. We're not figuring it out.
Well, and so...
You're going to watch us fumble in the dark with 2 hands and a flashlight.
So I am sort of curious as to, as to what precisely is going on. Because...
It's all mixing up.
Because again, Geraldine, was she aware? Because that felt like she didn't fully... that felt like she was an agent that didn't... It's like Jennifer Lopez in The Cell. It's like, does she know that she's on a mission in someone's psyche?
I see.
Or is she like a sleeper cell?
I see.
And so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Sure. I don't know, because she did say, Wanda, she has twins in this episode, and she's like, I was a twin. My brother's name was Pietro, and, and Geraldine says he was killed by Ultron, right? And I just was like, oh my God.
But then when she wouldn't clarify it, that felt like a decision.
What did you say just now?
I said, Wanda, you're such a strong lady. Should I say it one more time for good measure?
No.
But then the way that she was expelled, I don't think this is all in Wanda's mind anymore. I think it's really happening.
There's a literal place, yes, but it could be a literal place in order to keep Wanda stable.
Okay.
It
just felt like they built this neighborhood. Like it was it felt like a very Truman Show thing.
I could believe that I think it's kind of like that map projection thing that Tony Stark was walking around in, where I could believe that all the walls are there, but I think they're projecting the reality onto it.
Okay.
Which, this one, we were not outside.
It was like a painted
backdrops.
Yeah.
And in the first 2, we were outside.
There was some outside stuff.
So I'm not entirely sure what, and I think that's where some of the people are sort of frustrated with the weekly release. This is one that as of now, I'm like, this was not the best decision to release it weekly, because we're having to analyze to a point that could hurt the overall. Because it's like,
sure,
if we're waiting for the painted backdrops to pay off in some way,
it's
they're probably not going to.
That's just like a hazard of the time period that you're
or an aesthetic choice, you know. So we're trying to figure out what are clues and what isn't.
Sure.
And again, to reiterate a little bit, you and I certainly are actually just sort of fine to watch them. I mean, we're students of film and television, so we're sort of fine to watch this series just reenact decades of...
Honestly, I like the tie-in...
Even without a twist, I would watch this show.
The tie-in to Marvel is like the fifth thing I care about, if I'm being honest.
The stork was funny for me, because that's another thing, is how much this is sincere.
Yeah.
Like, these are straightforward...
That staircase, I think it came from the set of the Brady Bunch.
They're straightforward homages. It's not, these aren't spoofs.
No.
Like, they're not like, it's not like the Brady Bunch movie in that regard.
Correct, yeah. In that case, it is very, very sincerely a send-up of the Brady Bunch.
Which is where I come back to my whole thing of assimilation. I think that this might have, because we've also mentioned her accent is miraculously gone.
Except for when she says Pietro.
Sure. And singing in the Sokovian.
Yes. Which was very pretty.
I'm sort of like, does this have something to do with, like, let's just say it a third time, assimilating into America? Or we did have Emma Caulfield back in this for one
just
line.
For a minute.
And again, over analyzing, I'm like, was that a throwaway joke, or is it for reason? That I found to be actually offensive.
Because she said, do these earrings make me look fat? And then the power goes out and her husband goes, thank God. Like, and I'm just like, no, Emma Caulfield, nothing makes you look fat. You're beautiful and wafy and ridiculous.
So good to see her back on our TV screen. I know that was last week's news, but
so nice.
She had a decent, or a weird run on Once Upon a Time where they didn't use her very appropriately.
You don't say.
But they even brought her back, but regardless.
She was like a witch or something, right?
She was the Hansel and Gretel candy witch.
Right, yeah.
And she was blind. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
She had the twins. That was part of that was the point of this episode with the like I said, the stork and the crib
and her like advanced pregnancy. It was like she was like 4 months at the beginning of the episode, and then she had the babies by the end of the episode.
And I do like the tonal shifts. I think the jarringness of the tonal shifts in this are what, because this is borderline scary. I almost wish we were not getting the glimpses outside.
Yeah, because
if you're watching something so sincere as a 70s sitcom, and then there is a sinister twist, that's terrifying.
You're right. I think it's really, but I think it's really smart, because you're right. You get lulled into this Brady Bunch thing, and then all of a sudden Geraldine says Ultron, and you're like, pardon?
Well, even back to the first episode, Deborah Jo Rupp being like, stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Stop it.
That too.
That was scary.
Super scary.
But again, in there,
because then it went to like a Twilight Zone place.
Yeah, and she went sort of lucid where she was like, Vision, do something. Yeah. So she is in control. I think she is in control to a degree. I think
the first thing you said is more correct than that. I think she can choose to be in control, and I think most of the time she's letting this...
Because she's not ready for whatever is on the other side.
She's letting this pull her around like a lazy river because she doesn't want to be involved.
Because even with the beekeeper, she was like, nope.
Yeah.
And because I forget what Vision said, but he sat down on the couch and said something this time. But he was like, don't you think this is all weird? Mm-hmm. And she was like, I don't like that. And it glitched back to a point where I thought something happened to our TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was intentional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's more than that, isn't it? Mr. and Mrs. Hart, dinner, outside with Herb. I think something's wrong here, Wanda. Yes, I know what you mean.
Unless we're at the top of the bell curve of the MCU and the quality overall is about to decline and we just don't know it, I have total faith that this is going somewhere.
We're right at the peak. We're literally doing this.
I have faith that the start of phase 4 is in fact going somewhere.
Yeah, same. Hard same.
So is there anything else you can think of?
Not really, not right now. This was actually a more contained episode. We didn't have like other locations. They were like in the house the whole time.
I do agree. I wish they released this last week. The first three,
yeah.
Because I know so many people that have already tapped out. Not for good, but like
they're gonna wait till
our friend Martin. He's like, I'm gonna wait till it's over.
That's fair.
Watch it.
I think,
and
that's
for
fair.
someone like him, I mean, frankly, even Will, I feel like if he wasn't doing this with us, he would have already been like, I'm gonna wait till it's over.
I'm gonna wait. No, I love talking because I love talking about the nuances of the decade.
Well, that's what I mean. You and me could get 10 minutes out of their clothes.
They were singing "Daydream Believer." It was like so cute,
and all of her, the balance between the acting, like when she's sitcom acting
and when she's real acting, it's very interesting.
Because there's that shot from the trailer where she looks like it looks full blown like the movie Sunshine.
Yeah,
and she's like, So I'm kind of excited.
Me too.
And I feel like at this point we've already seen a lot of this footage.
Yes.
Because like I said, we know we're getting the 80s and 90s, but then it's kind of like, I don't know what's after that. So I'm excited to start experiencing new footage.
Yeah, same.
We kind of love it.
Yeah. More, please.
Believer
and the homecoming queen.